Welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at some AI research papers you sent our way. They're all about these models called mini-omni and mini-omni2. Looks like you've been digging deep into real-time speech interaction stuff.
Yeah, these models are really aiming to do what we used to think was only possible in sci-fi, like holding a natural conversation just like with GPT-4o. What's really cool to me, though, is that they're open source. In a field like AI, where everyone is so competitive, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads to a lot faster advancement, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can build on each other's work.
Right. It's like we're all working on this giant puzzle together.
I like that analogy. So let's start with this mini-omni model. What's the main idea behind it?
So imagine you ask your device, like your phone or your smart speaker, a really complex question. And instead of it just like reading you some robotic search result, you get this a nice spoken answer that's like really nuanced and almost instant. That's what they're going for with mini-omni. It's all about real-time speech that feels like a natural conversation back and forth.
Okay, so no more of that lag we're all used to with some of the older voice assistants.
Exactly. The older models all used these separate systems for text-to-speech, which led to a delay that made the conversation feel really clunky. But mini-omni is doing something really different. They're using what they call text-instructed speech generation and parallel processing.
Okay, and that basically lets it think and speak at the same time, right?
You got it.
I'm curious, though, the idea of a model actually reasoning with audio is kind of mind-blowing to me. Like, how did they even do that?
Well, that was a big hurdle for the researchers. What's really remarkable is that they managed to do it with a surprisingly small model and with a relatively limited amount of data.
So mini-omni is taking in the audio, understanding it, coming up with an answer, and then giving that answer in like a normal-sounding voice, all in real time.
That's the idea, yeah. And don't forget, this is all open source. All the code is on GitHub for anyone to play with. They even made this framework called Any Model Can Talk, which makes it way easier for other people to take mini-omni's speech capabilities and adapt it for other AI models.
That's pretty awesome. But before we get too deep in the weeds here, let's think about this from our listeners' perspective. What are some real-world applications for this? Like, imagine you're asking for directions, and instead of just reading a list, it's actually guiding you through a complex route. Or maybe you're visually impaired, and you could use this to navigate the world. There's a lot of potential here.
Definitely.
But now I want to hear about mini-omni 2. What's so special about version 2.0?
Well, mini-omni 2 takes everything we just talked about, and it adds a whole new dimension to it. Vision. It's like they gave mini-omni a set of eyes.
So now we're talking about a true multimodal AI.
Right.
Something that can understand and respond to both audio and visual cues at the same time.
Exactly. So just imagine you're showing mini-omni 2 a picture. Let's say it's a picture of a busy intersection. And you ask it, okay, what do I do here? The model would actually analyze the picture and like recognize traffic signals, and then it would actually tell you how to safely navigate the intersection.
So it's not just following rules, like it's actually reasoning about what it's seeing and giving a context-aware answer.
That's exactly right. And again, this is all happening in real time using a natural-sounding voice. The team was able to do this by integrating these pre-trained encoders. They're called CLIP and Whisper. CLIP is for vision and Whisper is for audio.
Oh, wow. So they took existing tools and kind of combined them to build this really robust multimodal model.
Exactly.
This is really cool. I can see why you're excited about this.
The most impressive part, though, is their three-stage training approach. First, they adapt the multimodal encoders, then they align them with the language model, and finally, they train the whole system to give a multimodal output, including audio.
So it's taking in visual and audio information and then using its language skills to give a spoken response.
Right.
It's incredible. Like, they've made an AI that can see, hear, and speak just like us.
But how does it handle interruptions? Like, let's say it's explaining something and you need to ask a question. Does it just keep talking?
Actually, that's one of the most interesting things about mini-omni 2. It has this really innovative way of handling interruptions. They've built in what they call a command-based interruption mechanism. Basically, you can stop it from talking by saying something like, "Stop Omni."
So it's like hitting the pause button in a conversation.
Yep.
Much better than trying to talk over a robotic voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while it's not full duplex conversation yet, that is the ability to listen and speak at the same time. It's a big step towards that.
Okay, so we've got mini-omni, which is groundbreaking for real-time speech, and then mini-omni 2, which adds vision and creates a multimodal AI. I'm blown away. What's next?
Well, this is just the beginning. We're seeing the early stages of what AI can do with real-time audio and visual processing, and the possibilities are really endless. So for everyone listening, Get ready for a future where your devices can really understand you and respond to you not just with text, but through natural multimodal conversations. And it's closer than you think. We've only scratched the surface, though, so stay tuned as we keep diving into mini-omni and mini-omni 2.
Yeah, there's a lot more to explore here. Before we get too far ahead, though, let's see how mini-omni 2 actually performs in the real world. The research paper really goes deep on how they tested it.
Oh, wow. So they didn't just build it and say, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
They actually put it through some rigorous testing.
They did. And the results are amazing. So like any good development team, they wanted to make sure the foundation was solid. So they started with basic tests like image captioning and speech recognition.
Right. He's got to make sure the basics are working. Can't build a house on a shaky foundation or something, right?
Exactly. So for these basic tests, mini-omni 2 did exceptionally well. In fact, it even outperformed Whisper on certain data sets.
Wait, Whisper? That's the advanced speech recognition model they use, right?
It's a component of mini-omni 2.
And mini-omni 2 beat it.
On certain tests, yes. Especially on data sets with noise or different accents.
So it's not just understanding what's being said, but it's also filtering out distractions.
Yeah.
And focusing on the meaning even in noisy environments.
Exactly. That's what they call robustness. And it really speaks to the effectiveness of their training process.
Okay, so it aced the basic skills tests. But what about more complex interactions? That's got to be the real challenge, right?
Absolutely. And that's where mini-omni 2 really shines. They put it through a whole bunch of real-world scenarios, and it totally exceeded expectations. Imagine showing mini-omni 2 a picture of a really delicious dish.
Ooh, yeah. I'm getting hungry already. Like a big plate of pasta with a creamy sauce and some fresh herbs on top.
Yeah. Perfect. Now imagine you ask mini-omni 2 what ingredients are in this dish. It would actually analyze the picture and give you a breakdown of everything it sees. The pasta type, the sauce, the herbs, maybe even some guesses about other ingredients, all based on its knowledge of cooking and recipe.
So it's not just recognizing objects, but it's also understanding how they relate to each other. And it's pulling from its knowledge base to give a contextually relevant answer.
Right. And it's doing all of this in real time.
So you ask the question, and within seconds you've got your answer.
Yeah. It's processing the visual info reasoning through the scenario and then giving you a spoken response.
It's like having a personal chef right there in your pocket.
Okay,
but let's move beyond the kitchen. What other scenarios did they test?
Well, they did a bunch. Imagine you show it a picture of a crowded street and you ask, how many people are in this picture? It would actually try to count all the people, even in that complex environment.
Wow, so it's not just recognizing objects, it's analyzing the whole scene. That takes some serious processing power.
It does. They even tested its ability to follow instructions with multiple steps in different modalities. Like you could say, show me a picture of a cat, and then tell me a fun fact about cats.
And it would do both of those things.
It would find a cat picture and then share a cat fact.
That's incredible. It really shows how this could change how we interact with information. And with technology in general. But I'm sure there are some limitations, right? No technology is perfect.
Of course. Mini-omni 2 is a huge leap forward. But there are still some things it struggles with. Like, its knowledge base is still limited. And it can't really handle super nuanced or abstract concepts. And conversations are still a bit limited.
So there's room for improvement, but it's a very promising start. What are the developers focusing on for the next version?
Well, one thing is scaling up the model and the data size. They were working with limited resources for mini-omni 2, so more data and more computing power should lead to even bigger advancements.
Makes sense. But are they working on anything else beyond just scale?
Yeah, they're also trying to make the audio output sound more natural and diverse. Right now it sounds good, but it can be a bit robotic.
So they're trying to add more expressiveness to the voice.
Exactly. They're playing with different timbres, accents. They're even exploring the idea of giving it singing capabilities.
Wow, that's amazing. An AI that can answer your questions and sing you a song?
It's definitely a possibility. And finally, they're working on better ways to handle interruptions. The command-based approach is good, but they want a system that can understand and respond to interruptions even more naturally without needing specific commands.
So basically, they're aiming for a truly human-like interaction.
Exactly. It's an ambitious goal, but they've already come so far. I wouldn't underestimate them.
We've covered a lot about mini-omni's audio capabilities, and now we've seen how mini-omni 2 adds vision and multimodal understanding. It's clear that mini-omni 2 is a major step forward, but how does it really compare to the original? What are the biggest differences between the two versions?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are some key differences that make mini-omni 2 a really big step forward.
Okay, lay it on me.
So the biggest one is multimodal input. Unlike the first mini-omni, which just focused on audio, mini-omni 2 can take in visual information along with audio and text.
So it can actually see the world now, too.
Exactly, which opens up a whole new world of possibilities for interaction. Think about how we as humans interact with our surroundings. We're using multiple senses all the time to gather information. Mini-omni 2 is designed to work more like that, which makes it feel a lot more natural.
So they've given AI a more human-like way of experiencing things.
Yeah. Another big difference is in the robustness of its speech recognition. Mini-omni 2 is much better at handling noise and different accents. It consistently outperforms the original mini-omni on those kinds of data sets.
That's really important if you're thinking about real-world use cases. Like, imagine trying to use a voice assistant in a crowded place. Being able to filter out all that noise is essential.
Absolutely. And then there's the command-based interruption mechanism. We talked about that a bit earlier. It's a much smoother way to interact with the AI.
Yeah, I really like that feature. It feels so much more natural.
It's a big step towards being able to have a real back-and-forth conversation.
It's amazing to think how far we've come in such a short amount of time. It really feels like we're on the verge of a future where AI can interact with us in ways we never thought possible.
I agree. And what's really exciting is that all of this is open source. So anyone can contribute to this development, which means innovation can happen much faster.
It's like a global collaboration to push the boundaries of what AI can do.
Exactly. And this goes way beyond just making our devices a little bit smarter. We're talking about technology that could change fields like accessibility, education, healthcare. The possibilities are huge.
It's a future filled with so much potential. And it's all thanks to the hard work of these researchers. Well, we've covered a lot today. From the nuts and bolts of mini-omni to the mind-blowing advancements of mini-omni 2. We've talked about the technical details, the real-world applications, and even some of the ethical considerations.
And we've only just scratched the surface. AI is constantly evolving. There's still so much more to learn and explore.
But for now, I think we'll wrap things up. Thanks again for sending us these research papers. It's been a fascinating deep dive. And for everyone listening, we hope you'll stay curious and keep exploring the world of AI. Until next time.